And now we're joined by our Illini expert from IlliniInquirer.com, Derek Piper. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll start with recruiting. What kind of position is Illinois in right now, having some success last season where they can maybe continue to build sustained success with recruiting?
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job so far, and we saw this summer Chester Frazier coming in and having a lot of buzz around the program, coming off of having a 1 seed and just being back in the national picture. And you saw Jaden Epps and Sincere Harris jump on board, 2 top 100 guards, and you want to refill that backcourt, restock it with Trent Frazier being gone after this year, DeMonte Williams, and Andre Curbelo might not ultimately be a 4-year guy, so you want to have guys come in after that and be able to continue to play at a high level in the guard spot. And I think that Underwood's done a great job of restocking that position each and every year. And you look forward as we get towards signing day, Ty Rodgers is a top 100 forward. They're recruiting Tim Anderson, Mean Streets connection. So it's coming down the line here for a decision. I think they're in a pretty good spot and one of the finalists as they battle this thing out towards the end.
Sure. Now they're losing 2 of their top recruiters from this program in Orlando Antigua and Chin Coleman. What are the expectations for this new coaching staff as they try to rebuild some of those relationships or create new ones, like you mentioned?
Yeah, those are big shoes to fill, obviously. Orlando Antigua and Chin. Chin was able to tap into Chicago, the Mac Urban Fire program, and bring in Io, Adam Miller, recruited Coleman Hawkins, and Orlando Antigua even going internationally, which was just such an advantage for him with his connections to the Dominican Republic, to Puerto Rico. Chester Frazier coming in, Tim Anderson, Jeff Alexander. Those guys have done a really good job, and they're going to have different spots. Chester on the East Coast, Tim Anderson in Chicago, similar to Chin, but with the Mean Streets program. So it is a challenge, but this program sells itself really when you're back in the national picture, being a top 10 program nationally.
Sure, and Ayo Dosunmu certainly helps with recruiting. I mean, he's the blueprint, essentially. Stay in your home state, come play for, the flagship university in your state, and turn pro, a couple years later. What does that do for a program and in building kind of success there?
It's a huge deal because when you talk to recruits, they want to see players from that team in the NBA, and they want to look up to guys and say, I can emulate him. My game's similar in terms of a play style, and I can come do similar things. So when you see someone from the state come down and be a legit star, not just at Illinois, but really nationally recognized, Bob Cousy Award winner, now in the hometown of the Chicago Bulls. So guys, especially in Chicago, looking up to Io, want to be like him, and he's been selling the program obviously from day one and saying, hey, you can go do the same thing as me down in Champaign.
Now you hinted at Andre Curbelo maybe not being a 4-year player. Are you talking NBA? Does he have some NBA potential? He
does, yeah. I mean, CBS Sports already for next year's draft has him projected early 2nd round. That'll be similar to Io, similar to Kofi, have decisions to make as far as where you want to be positioned, whether you want to come back and boost that thing up. But he's going to have the option if he has the type of year that he's expecting to have, that those around the program expect him to have that on the table, maybe even as early as this offseason.
Yeah, I know a lot of people weren't expecting Kofi Cockburn to come back. I think that's a big surprise and a good thing for Illini Nation. I know Illini fans are excited to have him back wearing the Illinois uniform, but is this a year to build his NBA stock or stock for a potential pro career? And where do you see his ceiling going in this 3rd year with Illinois?
Yeah, I think he's going to have that opportunity to continue to just be more dominant. There are some aspects of his game that he can work on defensively, getting more laterally quick and guarding on the perimeter. Of course, the jump shot is something that a lot of people like to talk about with the NBA. I don't know how much he's going to show that this year. He did show in an exhibition game, nice little mid-range jumper from around the free throw line. So some things that he can work on and get better at, but really I know he's focused on just continuing to dominate the Big Ten, go on a nice run. And we've seen in the past that teams that go deep in the tournament, those players usually have their stock risen leading into the NBA draft. So I think ideally if Illinois goes to the Final Four and has that type of a run, that he will be able to rise up into a desirable spot in the NBA.
And do you think Illinois is in some of these conversations, these national conversations? Of course, they're coming off a big season from last year, but I think Kofi plays a big part in that and why they are so hyped up for this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was an All-American last year, so it really legitimizes Illinois as far as coming back. And a lot of people question how would this program do without Io, because there's a lot of respect on Io's name and who he was. But Kofi just being that type of dominant presence, when you look around the Big Ten and see Hunter Dickinson, you see Travion Williams, you got to be able to combat that. And Kofi being back certainly gives them that respect and being able to be thought of again as a national player.
How will this program do without Io? I think they're in a good spot.
I think they're built, obviously, to sustain that, and it will be interesting late in games. I know that Brad has talked about that throughout the offseason of when it comes closing time, Io's just his kill rate down the stretch, and everybody in the Big Ten obviously got a taste of that. You're going to have to see if Curbelo can make the right play, whether it's going to be making that jump shot when the game's on the line or finding the right guy. But other than that, I think you can make up for his production with other guys and just bringing back 5 of your top 8 from last year, adding in some newcomers. They can sustain, but late in games, we're going to have to see if they can step up and answer that call.
Sure. Underwood has talked about wanting to get a little bit more action on the perimeter. Who do you see being those big guys as far as three-point shooting for the team this year?
Austin Hutcherson is one. Got to see if he can stay healthy, but he's someone that can definitely shoot at a high clip. And Alfonzo Plummer, the transfer from Utah, was one of the best catch-and-shoot weapons in all college basketball last year. And the good thing about him is he's done it at the high major level, having played in the Pac-12. So he comes in and you can put him in the corner, you can run him off some screens. Those two guys in particular, and Coleman Hawkins as well. I think he's a better shooter than he showed last year. And now that he will get more action at the 4 spot, I think that just provides more floor spacing, more guys for Curbelo to find. And you're going to make teams make a decision. Are you going to crash inside on Kofi or get out to the three-point line against those type of weapons?
Sure. And just what we saw in the exhibition game with Coleman Hawkins, I think his growth has been exponential. Do you see him being a big contributor this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that he's added some strength, which has been important as far as rebounding and be able to handle the physicality of the Big Ten. But he's a confident guy. He's playing with a lot of energy. I think that he can block some shots with his length. He goes to the glass really hard in terms of his energy level, and then he's just very versatile offensively. He can shoot the three, he can put the ball on the floor a little bit and pass. So I look for him to be a lot more comfortable this year and to slot in. It'll be interesting because DeMonte can play the 4, Jacob Grandison can play the 4, but he provides that length because you look around the league and really in college basketball, some of those bigger teams have challenged Illinois in the past. Coleman can provide that length that's necessary.
Sure. Now, Illinois is returning so many players this year, and it's kind of a unique spot for this program where they don't have to rely as much on the freshmen as they've needed to in years past. Don't expect the freshmen, I don't think, to get too much playing time maybe in this first year, but do you see any of them having a breakout season?
I think Luke Goody will get an opportunity to get some minutes because he is someone that is earning the trust of the coaching staff, just has a high IQ, plays really hard, but it's going to be tough to crack the rotation. And we've seen in the past where Io has to come in as a freshman and really be a starter and a focal point, even Adam Miller in the starting lineup last year. So it's a luxury to not have to lean so heavily on those guys. And I do think it'll be tough to really carve out a role game by game, but I think Goody will get, of the 3 freshmen, probably most ready to play, and I think he will get some minutes.
All right. Well, anything else you want to tease coming up on Illini Inquirer? Anything you're working on right now?
Yeah, season previews. I'm counting down the most important players on this team as we go through the list and approach the season opener. And, of course, each game will have all the coverage you can look for.
Okay, and we look forward to having you on the Illini Nation pregame shows that starts at the beginning of the season. So, Derek, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you the rest of the season. But that'll do it for us here on the Illini Nation Tip-Off Show.